Labour Party's Alex Oti is the winner of the Abia governorship election and has given his acceptance speech, promising not to disappoint the people of Abia State. And Mr. Atiku Abubakar has joined the Labour Party to challenge the victory of Bola Tinubu as the president-elect. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the program. This is Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimale in Abuja. Oh, this is a bit hurting to my ears, guys. Well, let's begin tonight's program by letting you know that the media office of the president-elect Bola Tinubu today has revealed that he has traveled out of the country to rest and attend the Lesser Hajj, that is the Holy Pilgrimage. A statement from Tunde Rahman, the president-elect's media aide, reads that after a very exhaustive campaign and election season, the president-elect Bola Tinubu has traveled abroad to rest and plan his transition program ahead of May 29, 2023 inauguration. The president-elect left the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Ikeja, for Europe earlier on Tuesday night. The president-elect has decided to take a break after the hectic campaign and election season to rest in Paris and London, preparatory to going to Saudi Arabia for Umrah, that is the Lesser Hajj, and the Ramadan fasting that begins on Thursday. While away, the president-elect, we understand, will also use the opportunity to plan his transition program. He's directed all his senior aides and campaign staff to also go and observe a short rest. He's expected back in the country soon. Let's also tell you that Mr. Alex Oti of the Labour Party has won the March the 18th governorship election in Abia State and declared the governor-elect. It trounced his opponent, Mr. his closest rival, Ahiwe of the People's Democratic Party, and Eyenaya Owafor of the YPP. Oti scored 175,467 votes against the PDP candidate, who scored over 88,000, while Owafor of the YPP got 28,972. The Labour Party candidate also won 10 out of the 17 local government areas in the state, and the PDP got 6 and the YPP got 1. That's been the mood in Abia State earlier today, especially in Umar here, where jubilation has been on the street. Of course, to be giving you much part of the acceptance speech of Mr. Alex Oti as he delivered it earlier today. All right, then, tonight it's been an interesting past weeks and days also, seeing the conclusion of the presidential election and some parts of the country, the governorship election. But election is not totally concluded. In some part, Adamawa, Enugu said those results are not totally declared. But tonight, I have the vice presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Datti Ahmed, will be joining me to give his thought on the decision of his party to challenge Bola Tinubu's victory or declaration as a president-elect. And of course, we'll be hearing from the People's Democratic Party on the situation of their own petition to the petition tribunal. And of course, the Labour Congress has said that Nigeria should be ready for what it has described as the mother of all protests. And they are planning to shut down all central bank offices across the country. But first, let's check out some of your political roundup stories.
Thank you, Sean. Good evening, everyone. I am Victoria Longjan, and here are your political roundup stories for today.
The lawmaker representing Kano North in the Senate, Senator Jibrin Barau, has officially announced his intention to run for the position of President of the Senate in the 10th National Assembly. His declarations is coming a day after the Senate Chief Whip, Senator Orji Uzakalu, said it is his turn to be the Senate President of the country. Speaking to journalists at the National Assembly this morning, Senator Barau said competence, capacity and experience should be the factors to determine who should be the President of the Senate and the 10th Assembly.
You need to reward, performance. You need to reward performance. So that sentiment wouldn't fly.
Stakeholders from Kogi West Senatorial District of Kogi State have appealed to Governor Yahaya Bello to allow the zone to produce the next governor of the state for equity, fairness and justice. The stakeholders stated this during a rally in Kaba, the headquarters of the district in Kogi State. The senator representing the districts, Senator Smart Adeyemi, urged Governor Yahaya Bello to allow power shift to the area ahead of the election slated for later in the year.
Although there are a few areas where there are violence, but those are insignificant compared with the overwhelming peaceful environment that we witnessed in the election.
Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike has denied working against the candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, in the February 25 presidential election. Following Bola Tinubu of the ruling All Progressives Congress declaration as winner, Governor Wike has been accused of working against the former Anambra State Governor. Speaking during a media chat with selected journalists in Port Harcourt today, the governor said he only advised the people of Rivers State to vote for the unity of Nigeria.
I'm not an alpha staff of INEC, and so I'm not in a place to rig election for anybody. It's when you have the materials of INEC that you can now talk about rigging.
Hundreds of residents of Ikperu, the hometown of Governor Dapo Abiodun in Ikene local government area of Ogun State, have trooped out to give the governor a heroic welcome over his re-election into office as the governor of the state for the next 4 years. Addressing the residents in Yoruba language, the governor attributed the victory at the governorship poll to the Almighty God and the people for standing solidly behind him during the election. The Kwara State Governor Abdurrahman Abdurrazak has led a delegation of APC candidates to the palace of the Emir of Ilorin, Dr. Ibrahim Sulu Gambari, on a thank-you visit for his continued support and prayers, which he said accounted for the success and peaceful conduct. He said the government will continue to consult the monarch and community heads on the needs of their respective areas for improved service delivery to the people of the state.
We have seen the role traditional rulers play, and we truly and deeply appreciate that role. First of all, it's the peace we have. Without you, the peace and security we have would be non-existent.
The governorship candidate of the Young Progressives Party in Delta State, Mr. Sonny Ofehe, has expressed dissatisfaction about the governorship election in the state. Addressing journalists in Abuja, Mr. Ofehe says the entire election process was characterized by fraud, as he accuses officials of the People's Democratic Party and that of the All Progressives Congress of manipulating the election and participating in vote buying.
I just announced now that I'm going to do yes, I've gathered facts. I gathered a whole lot of evidence. I come from a civilized democracy.
The New Nigeria People's Party and All Progressives Congress in Taraba State are protesting the declaration of the PDP governorship candidate Agbo Kefas as winner of the polls. Both parties are alleging that the governorship election was characterized by irregularities and overvoting. Meanwhile, the state governor has appealed to the aggrieved parties to embrace peace and join the winner in moving the state forward. And in Rivers State, contrary to the rejection of the outcome of the 2023 governorship election by some opposition parties in the state, a group of 18 political parties say the result is acceptable and unquestionable. The parties under the aegis of Forum of 18 registered political parties at a media briefing in Port Harcourt said the election which produced the PDP candidate as the governor-elect reflects the wishes of the people. 15 out of the 18 political parties on the platform of the Inter-Party Advisory Council in Yobe State have accepted the outcome of the just concluded governorship and House of Assembly elections in Yobe State. Addressing the press conference in Damaturu, the state capital, the IPAC chairman, Bala Mohammed, says the election was conducted under a peaceful atmosphere without intimidation and vote buying. The leadership of the National Assembly have been asked to look into the Electoral Offences Commission bill with a view of passing it into law so that electoral offence perpetrators can be prosecuted. This is according to the coalition of observer groups that monitor the just concluded governorship and House of Assembly elections. Addressing journalists in Jos, the Plateau State capital, on the post-election report, the group notes that passage of the law will enhance prosecution of electoral offences. The governor of Ebonyi State, David Umahi, has pleaded with the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, and the People's Democratic Party, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, to accept the outcome of the 2023 presidential election. Governor Umahi made the call in a state broadcast before presiding over a state executive council meeting since the conclusion of the general polls.
I think that the victory of Asiwaju and Shetima came from God. And since they are ardent believers in God, they should please join hands with Asiwaju.
And those are your political roundup stories. It's back to you, Sheung.
All right, thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Earlier on, we were live for you in Umuahia, the Abia state capital, where we brought you the result collation and the final announcement of the winner of the Abia governorship election. From what INEC has since told the world and Nigerians, that Abia and Enugu state collation result will be done today. Now you can see live on your screen, live pictures of an Enugu collation center. We are live for you on the ground waiting for the procedure or the session to begin. Don't forget that INEC had said that it will continue the collation of the result of the election of Saturday today at about 5 p.m. Don't forget that the electoral body announced the suspension of the result on Monday, saying it took the decision after a meeting to review the elections. It was a statement that was released by Mr. Festus Okoye over the result from Nkanu East and Nsukka local government areas of Enugu State, which were suspended for further review. INEC suspended that of Obingwa local government of Abia State, which was later on collated, announced, and gave the opportunity for INEC to determine the final outcome of the Abia governorship election. And so Alex Oti of the Labour Party emerged the winner. Of course, we are monitoring for you the Enugu State scenario there, which you can see right on this side of the screen for you. So you can keep your eyes on it. We are keeping tabs on the situation for you. But let us tell you that the Nigerian Labour Congress, the NLC, says it is planning the mother of all protests across the Federation about the grievance of the labor union and Nigerians about the state of the nation, specifically in the area of scarcity of cash, where Nigerians continue to groan for lack of Naira notes to transact. Let's get a sense of why the NLC will be going on these protests and what they're planning and their intentions. I'm being joined by the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Comrade Joe Ajaero, who joins us virtually live from Abuja. It's good to see you, Comrade. The press conference which you addressed earlier today indicate that there is a big plan by the NLC across the country for a protest, and which you have described at that press conference that is going to be the mother of all protests, in the sense that you will shut down all CBN offices across the country. Give us more details of your plans.
Well, exactly. Last week we gave a 1 week ultimatum, for the issue of scarcity of the Naira to be addressed. Thereafter, we sent letters to the Ministry of Labour and a few other agencies on our seriousness to address these issues. But as we met again to review the situation, there was no direct response from any of these government agencies. We reviewed the situation on the scarcity of the currency. We reviewed the situation on the issue of selling of the currency. And we view the reduction of the wage of the average Nigerian worker who would buy 10 naira, who would change 10 naira for 10,000 for 7,000. And by the time you calculate it, the minimum wage now is reduced to 21,000 naira. where it is possible, where they can see it. And they can't go to work. Those of them that use vehicles cannot buy petroleum products. You can't buy foodstuff. And after looking at that and the unseriousness, attached to this, we decided to make real our threat last week. And to that extent, by Wednesday next week, Wednesday to be precise, we'll picket all CBN offices, We'll picket them and we'll make sure that no worker goes to work, until they realize the extent of damage they have done to the psyche and the stomach of the worker.
Mr. Jairo, the CBN, we understand, has said that about 1 trillion naira is now in the system. What would you be proposing to them to ease the pains of Nigerians who are being starved of this cash to transact and to run their daily living? What exactly would you be telling the CBN? To put more money in the system, or what exactly?
Well, it is not my duty to say whether it is 1 trillion that is in circulation or is 1 billion that is in circulation. But we're enjoying the old Naira note, and we wouldn't know whether it was only 1 billion that was in circulation. But when we go to bank, we collect our money. If we need 5,000, we get it. If we need 10,000, we get it. Now that they say over 1 trillion is in circulation, and we can't get 5,000, we can't get 10,000. So the arithmetic is left for them to work out. What a worker needs is that, when he goes to the bank, he gets the little money, he needs to work. The calculation of the number of trillion that is in circulation is left with them. So why would you even buy our currency? Why would banks do that? Why would people transfer every money and it will hang? It will not go through. Why will you go to ATM, you will not get money? What? All this why and why and why. So I think they have the explanation to give. We have gone beyond the era of propaganda, and we will not join issues with them on whether 1 naira or 2 naira is in circulation. Or I'm interested in knowing, why I cannot get my 5,000 from the bank to eat with.
So you gave them an ultimatum which elapses tomorrow. Is that right?
Exactly.
So what exactly did you tell them? Was it the CBN or the federal government?
Well, the CBN works for the federal government. So when we wrote the Ministry of Labor, where through the office that all issues that are affecting workers are addressed, we articulated our issues. And ordinarily, in government, there should not be, a gap in the way government operates. Since they did not respond and they did not get the CBN to direct all these issues or to address these issues, to the satisfaction of the people involved, it is our duty equally to carry the blame to the doorpost of the people who are responsible. And that is the CBN in this context.
So describe to us how you're hoping to execute the picketing. So the plan is to storm the offices of the CBN across the Federation, picket it and not allow any operation. Is that right?
Yeah, it goes beyond that. Specifically, picket the CBN office and generally make sure that the activities in the country as regards to workers going to work does not proceed, because taking it broader, part of our agitation is the queue in filling stations, lack of proper distribution of petroleum products nationwide. In some parts of the country, you get a liter for 350. In some others, you get it at 190, 195 in that order. So that of CBN is picketing. Other protests, other agitation is based on the scarcity of petroleum products. So the two are part of the two major issues we are looking at. And on the basis of that, workers will be at home. They are urged not to go to work.
So this will start from tomorrow, and that is Thursday. And your demands, how many line of demands do you have? And hopefully, how do you hope that the government will meet these demands?
Well, the initial 1 week we gave expires tomorrow, but our action is starting on Wednesday. So by Thursday we start mobilizing from the states. Monday, Tuesday we finish our mobilization efforts, and especially in sensitive sectors. By Wednesday, the action takes off actively.
This action will hurt the economy. This action will in some way impact on the state of the nation generally. Is that considered into your plans? And how far-reaching do you think this could be should the government not yield to your demands?
Well, lack of this action has seemed to have paralyzed activities in this country. Lack of this action. It has made workers hungry. It has made farmers hungry. It has made traders hungry. We need a little bit of this inconvenience, for us to move forward from this country. It's like there's, everything is stagnated for a very long time now. And we have been talking and talking and talking, going to court, coming out from the court, obeying court decisions, disobeying court decisions. This is the time to act. And we believe that after this action, things will get right.
Comrade Joe Ajaero, do you have any other thing to say? We wanted to touch base with you based on the press conference you heard today. The government seems to be aware now from what you said tonight, and Nigerian workers and Nigerians are generally hearing you, and hopefully things will get better. Any final thought for you tonight?
Well, for a long time now, Nigerian workers have been taken for granted. Even the policy, the drive, over this policy is not made known to Nigerian workers. I think it can be between we and them. The very moment you have a policy directive, it should be driven down to the people it is supposed to affect. And we have equally been begging for it, giving notice for action, asking them to explain to us what is behind all this. And nobody is talking with us. Enough of this monologue. So we felt we should take our destiny in our hands.
Comrade Joe Ajaero, President of the Nigerian Labour Congress, thank you so much for your thought. And hopefully that protest will not happen on Wednesday so that all those who need to take action will take action, because I can imagine how hurtful the picketing will be for the economy of the country, and hopefully some sensibilities will be put into the actions of government and the relevant authority. Thank you so much indeed for your time tonight, Mr. Joe Ajaero.
Very much. Thank you, and a very optimistic Nigeria, and thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much indeed. Well, I have with me live with us the Labour Party Vice Presidential candidate, Mr. Datti Baba Ahmed. Thank you so much indeed for your time tonight. It's good to see you after the election. I guess it's the first time we're speaking after the election.
I think so.
Yes, absolutely. But just give me 2 minutes. Let me deal with this business quickly. The presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, Atiku Abubakar, has joined the League of Political Parties who are seeking redress over the conduct and outcome of the presidential election. He has officially approached the tribunal to contest the declaration of Bola Tinubu of the APC as a president-elect. This comes hours after the Labour Party and its candidate, Mr. Peter Obi, had similarly filed a petition at the Election Petitions Tribunal in Abuja, challenging Tinubu's status as the winner of the February 25, 2023 presidential election. Let's get some thoughts on what this means and why the PDP is challenging what they are really praying for, praying against the declaration of Bola Tinubu, and what other things that are included in that prayer. I'm being joined by one of the spokespersons of the PDP PCC. He joins us virtually, Mr. Daniel Buala, and also a lawyer, members of the Lincoln Inn. Thank you so much, Daniel, for joining us tonight. What exactly are the prayers of your principal?
Well, thank you for having me. The prayers are not far from what the Electoral Act provides in Section 134, to the effect that anybody who is challenging the outcome of election must come under either of these four grounds. Number one is that the election of the person who was declared winner is invalid by reason of non-compliance with the provisions of the Electoral Act. Number two is that the person who was declared winner his election is invalid by reason of corrupt practices. The third one is that the person who was declared winner was not fully elected by the lawful votes of the majority of Nigerians. And of course, the third one is that the person was the fourth one, the person was declared winner is not qualified. Now, we have covered all of those grounds in our applications, and we have a case that we can make to the code. For example, if you look at non-compliance with the provisions of the Electoral Act, I mean, everybody in Nigeria knows what INEC told us when they set the ball rolling. They said, this is the rule. The electronic upload has come to stay. It is part of the amendment of the Electoral Act. The result will be uploaded. And all of those grammars, when they gave that in their engagement with stakeholders, they were asked whether there is a conflict between the electronically uploaded result and the manually transmitted, which one takes precedence. They said definitely it will be the electronically uploaded. That is also supported by the budget of the federal government to deal with ICT. So there is a clear intent on the part of INEC to apply the provisions of the guidelines, which draws its support from the Electoral Act that the electronic upload and transmission of the result will be sacrosanct. Did they follow that provision? We hold the view that that election is invalid because there is a non-compliance, and there are so many other non-compliance around that. Number two, this is an election where you saw corruption and corrupt practices in terms of vote buying, covered by the media, covered by video, covered by audio, even the law enforcement. The third one is that the person who was declared winner was not declared by the lawful vote of the majority, but not by the vote of the lawful majority of the country. This is where they committed what I call 21st century criminal conduct, even though it is not in the criminal law, where they use the advent of the electronic transmission of result as a reason to perpetuate corrupt practices in terms of manipulation of result all across the country in one swoop, and take that hard copy to INEC so that INEC now use the results they were holding in their hands to declare. All you need to do is to look at their IRA. So now they have finished uploading the IRA. If you look at it, you see that the result that was announced totally inconsistent with what you see there in the IRA. So he was, by the time you do plus and minus and you take everything out, you discover that their victory cannot be sustained. Don't forget also the provision of Section 130 sub 2 of the Constitution, which also says that even when you think that the person has scored the lawful majority, there is still a test too. Has he scored the 25% in the FCT? INEC ought to have advised themselves, but they never did. And then the last one, which is very, very critical in my view, is the issue of qualification. And you can see that you probably in the course of this our campaign, we have appeared in your studio where I was having a back and forth with Festus Keyamo about the certificate of that candidate. So there are lots of controversies around the certificate. Some people have stretched it further to talk about conviction in America and whether that person can be. So all of these things are part of the many more reasons we have brought to the court. There is only one request we have, Mr. Sheon, and the request is for the courts in the land to abide by what they say from the beginning, that the courts is about time they depart from technicality and focus on substantial justice. Substantial justice is whether the thunder comes down or not. You must come down to the case of who scored the lawful majority vote. No procedural area of law should invalidate substantial determination of this matter. What is the premise of our prayer? Because if you look at Africa, you will see that democracy, there is an attempt supported by the global community to deepen democracy in Africa. It has happened in Malawi, it has happened in Kenya. These are places where before now you would have heard they say Supreme Court would never annul themselves. It's the tradition you see in Nigeria when people say Supreme Court has never annulled, therefore Supreme Court would not. Hold on, take your popcorn, take your drink, sit back and see. In the face of overwhelming evidence, the Supreme Court will hold your case and sustain it. This is the belief. Our prayer is that technicality should not be used. Substantial justice must be given to this case. And number three, the institution of state must not use their overbearing power and compromise the judges or compromise the processes. American Embassy have, backed us on that. And in fact, the world community have also said that the local laws in Nigeria must be adhered to the adjudication of the matter.
Stay with me, Mr. Bwala. We have so much to chew tonight. Don't forget, I have with me the vice presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Datti Baba Ahmed. So much to talk with you tonight, but thanks so much for your patience. We need to go on a break now. It's the bottom of the hour, and when we come back from the break, you will be getting more engagement on some of these issues on the elections of the 25th of February 2023. And of course, we have our eyes live in Enugu at the Collation Center. We'll bring to you some of the final collation of results from that governorship election. Stay with me, everyone. We'll be right back after this break. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us right here on the program. Earlier on, we spoke with Mr. Joe Ajaero, the NLC president, and afterwards we were speaking with Mr. Daniel Bwala, who is with us virtually from London. And here we have the vice presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Datti Baba Ahmed. Stay with me, Mr. Daniel Bwala. Let's come to our Abuja studio with the vice presidential candidate of the Labour Party. Thank you so much, and it's good to have you tonight on the program. Well, let me first and foremost, let's begin the conversation around your own view of the outcome of the presidential election.
Sad, unfortunate, tragic. All promises that were made, dashed, failed, hopes dashed. On a Wednesday before that Saturday, we attended the signing ceremony in which the INEC chairman so bravely spoke, and in which Mr. President also spoke. We should have known better. We always know better. But when you are dealing with authority, you have, and you're a law-abiding citizen, your only option is to continue to have hope. But we've been having hopes for 8 years now. Promise after promise was failed. They promised beavers will work on Wednesday. They switched it off on Saturday. They promised electronic transmission on Wednesday. They failed it on Saturday. Mr. President said all he could, but all we have to do is to look at their antecedents and just come out and say the truth. These are people who just practically do not even know what they are promising. They promised better security for Nigeria. 8 years now have not been able to. Better economy, no. Fight corruption. Nigeria is the most corrupt era for Nigeria now. And therefore, if they failed to deliver the credible elections that they promised, it should come as little wonder to us. However, they're still calling it a credible election, which reinforces my belief that, clinically speaking, they don't even know what they're doing. They just say things in the air. Credibility, they have honor, they have zero honor, they say they have honor. They force people to say that they are leaving behind a legacy. What legacy are you leaving behind with all the poor state that Nigeria is in? That is my view. But let's keep that aside and go to what is really facing Nigeria now, if you would. Can I go ahead?
Yeah. Just, I'd like to just get one or two things off the table. You mentioned this, it looks to me that you generalize the issues, but Nigerians would like to know in what areas that you have your disappointment about the process. Is it with INEC? Is it with the beavers? Did the beavers work, or was it the IREF? Because a lot of people will say maybe the beavers worked, but the IREF, the transmission of result, was the problem. Where do you think that the promises did not match the performance?
The arrogant INEC chairman and the incompetent president of Nigeria, I'm very, very sorry to say. The chairman should not have engaged in what he did. At the height of administrative rascality and official arrogance, sneak in the hour of 4 a.m., arrogate himself the power to interpret a section of the Constitution that needs no interpretation. Section 134 comes already interpreted, and recklessly proceeds to declare and issue a certificate of return. And our dear Mr. President, who is probably paying back a promise that Tinubu extracted from him way back in 2014, when they added their money and their votes for him to become president of Nigeria way back then. And now they reminded him, you promised to give it back to us. And he has no choice than maybe, well, they promised, okay, give it to them. He could not stand for righteousness. And it is clear, with this president, anything can go, and you can give it a different name. These are the places I'm disappointed in. But I really, really want us to come to what is facing Nigeria now, if you may.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and, but of course,
there are
your party, just for a moment,
Mm-hmm.
your party had gone to court petitioning the outcome of that election. What are your expectations? And I'm asking this because your party came third. So in that sense, what are the hopes and aspirations of your party and your principal and yourself? What do you think will come out of that election? What are your prayers?
It's good we always finish qualifying what we're saying. When you say we came third according to the results released by INEC. Yes. In reality, we came first with the data, with the collated results on IREV and with our agents and everything that we have.
Have you collated that?
We have. Yes.
You've tabulated it?
Yes, yes.
And what are the figures telling you?
We won the election.
INEC declared 6 million plus for you.
Yes, but we got the highest number of votes.
By how many votes?
It's in the region of 8 million, but when the lawyers are handling that, I don't want to give a figure right now. We came first, so just to correct you, whatever we say is good, we fully clear it. Yes, we've gone to court, and the lawyers are handling it. What is facing Nigeria now? Nigeria is officially in a state of constitutional crisis. We're not realizing that yet.
What do you mean by that?
Thank you. A certificate of return has been issued to a so-called president-elect unconstitutionally. There are therefore two meanings, two interpretations, and two understandings of the declaration made. One is that one by INEC. One is that one of the people. When I said of the people is whoever can read section 134 of the Constitution and take a position, then we are entitled to our own view of what crisis is facing Nigeria now. The certificate of return issued to Alhaji Tinubu is a dud certificate. It is one certificate that breaches the provisions of section 134. Therefore, the requirements to be declared as president-elect have not been met by Tinubu Shetima ticket. The declaration, therefore, as it stands now, as far as the people of Nigeria who choose to adopt the literal, clear, interpreted meaning of section 134 is concerned, there is really no president-elect.
All right. So let's clarify.
Yes.
So section 134 suggests and puts to Nigeria.
Does not suggest, provides.
Yeah, provides what Nigerians should think about when they are electing a leader and the office of the president. And it talks about.
No, Seun, you're wrong. You're wrong. It's not what they should say when they are electing a leader. Section 134 stipulates who to be declared an issued certificate of return. It is only that candidate that has scored the highest number of votes and at least 25% in each in at least two-thirds of the states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory.
All right.
Remember,
so I thought you were going to say something different from what I was going to read.
No. Each and now it is very clear Tinubu does not have 25% in the FCT. We denied him. We got 61%. Atiku does not have 25% in the FCT. We denied both of them. By the clear, unambiguous provision of the Nigerian Constitution, which must not be breached, Tinubu has not satisfied the requirement to be declared president-elect. Accordingly, there is no president-elect for Nigeria now. I repeat, accordingly, there is no president-elect for Nigeria at the moment because the declared one violates the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And I know what I'm saying. The Constitution is there in your presence, is available. Everybody is reading it as I speak. I'm not therefore behaving illegally or unconstitutionally. To the contrary, I am supporting constitutionality. It is in fact better for the powers that be to go and create additional 6% out of thin air and rig it back to Tinubu and therefore swear him in on 25% than to go ahead and take the risk of swearing in a so-called president-elect that has not met the constitutional requirements.
Interesting. This conversation, what you started saying, just for a moment, was one conversation I had with Mr. Olisa Agbakuba a few months ago when he was one of those who raised it and said, INEC needs to come out to explain to Nigerians this second part of the provision of the Section 134 of the Constitution about the 25% in two-thirds of 36 states is 24.
Good.
Plus the FCT. Whether or not, if you meet that of the 25% of two-thirds of the state, which is 24, but if you fail to meet the FCT, what happens? That it was one major issue which is raised. Well, for the benefit of our viewers, let me just read quickly what Section 134 says. And it says, a candidate for an election to the office of the president shall be deemed to have been duly elected, where there being only two candidates for the election, he has a majority of votes cast at the election. That is the first provision. Then he has not less than 1/4 of the votes cast at the election in each of the least 2/3 of all the states in the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. That is a second provision.
Can I comment?
Go ahead, please.
This document you read is not a puzzle. It is in English. O levels that you wrote and I wrote and the justices and everybody that is a candidate wrote. It is law. The law is not a game for politicians to play. This document is not available for Yakubu to interpret that day. It is there for him to follow. The English is very clear. These are fundamental provisions of the Constitution. They come already interpreted. You cannot take a gun, shoot somebody, and then ask the family to go and get interpretation that you only fired your weapon and then it killed him. No. This Constitution is more than abundantly clear. It says and. Shehu, you know the meaning of and. We know the meaning of and. There is no justice beyond what is simplicity. Simplicity is justice, simplicity is wisdom, simplicity is knowledge.
All right. So that is an interpretation which you are giving.
Listen.
No, because there are other people who have argued.
There is a universal.
There are other people who have argued differently.
Go ahead.
And when Bola Tinubu was declared, he has his supporters. A lot of people were happy that he won the election. There were 38% of the votes cast were given to him. And those people are Nigerians
By INEC. I told you to be qualifying what you said, please. By INEC.
But that is what has been presented officially, except otherwise
now
disputed.
Now you have
otherwise
qualified
disputed.
It. Go ahead.
If it's otherwise disputed,
go ahead.
Is what is fact that we know now.
You have qualified it. Go
ahead.
So
that is your interpretation of this provision, because some other people argue differently.
Those who have argued differently ended up helping our case, because they say that there is a certain ruling which says the FCT is a state. Good. FCT is a state. Where is the each of 25% for FCT. It is not there. That constitutional requirement has not been met. That certificate of return is null and void and cannot be sworn in as president. And let me tell you, the way they are going, disregarding the calls of the people, violating the Constitution, let them even go ahead, even if they swear in Tinubu Shetima on 29th of May. They are swearing in an unconstitutional government. Nothing will change it. I am not a careless, reckless speaker. I am working with the Constitution there, that document, right, you just read. I'm following it. And I dare to tell you that swearing in Tinubu and Shetima is as good as swearing in the Nigerian army on 29th of May. If you swear in people that have not satisfied the requirement, you have, by so doing, ended democracy. The crisis I'm telling you now is that this, our democracy, is going to end. By the way we are going, this democracy is going to end on the 29th of May, 2023. Please write it.
Those are extreme,
you know my
those
name.
Are extreme thoughts.
I am very, very happy to say it. You know my name. You introduced me.
Yeah.
Listen, don't stop me.
No, I will, because those are extreme thoughts. You know why? Because there are allowable language to be used on television, especially as it relates to our nation and the unity of this country.
Put your question and let me answer you. Put your question. I know what I'm saying.
If there is an official...
If you breach the Constitution...
Is it not left to the court to decide otherwise?
This is already decided by the courts.
But the authority in charge of the election gave a declaration.
If you are afraid for some things, don't ask for them.
I am not afraid. I will, as a citizen of the country, by the ethics and the guidelines of my profession, live by it. What is lawful? And I hope that you're a lawful citizen of the country. And so whatever the stipulation of the law guides, that if you are aggrieved about something, you go to the court to seek redress, isn't it?
This document is a product of the legal system. It has been signed into law by the President, Commander-in-Chief, Federal Republic of Nigeria. I believe in this document. That is why I'm so lawful. That is why I'm so confident. And that is why however extreme it is, Sheung, I am saying it on national TV. I don't like to take risks. I'm not taking any risks. Swearing in a ticket that has not met the constitutional requirements of the Constitution, okay, is ending democracy. Quote me on it.
That's your interpretation.
That is my interpretation, and that is indeed a correct interpretation. You cannot swear people who have not met the constitutional requirement. You can't do that. If you did it, you have done something unlawful, something unconstitutional. And I'm repeating it. Whoever does not meet the constitutional requirement must never be sworn in. You said my name. If you like, I can say it again. I'm Datti Ahmed. I'm not taking risks with my safety and with my life. But I'm repeating, swear in anybody who does not meet the constitutional requirements of our country. You are engaging in an unconstitutional act. Mr. President, do not hold that inauguration. CJ and your lordship, do not partake in unconstitutionality. I am taking these risks for the sake of my country. Yes, it is extreme, and I'm saying it. It was more extreme for Yakubu to issue that certificate. It was reckless. He is putting all our lives in danger. All of us. We're already at risk. So what is there again in me taking risks again? What have they not done against Nigeria? What have they not abused in Nigeria? Now they'll take the Constitution where it is clear, it says, and get 24. After that, and FCT. They fail to get it. They are going to swear this man in, and I should be afraid? I will not be. I'm telling you that on the 29th of May, 2023, swear in Tinubu as this result is, you have ended democracy, whoever you are.
I mean, you say you're a lawful citizen.
I am.
So the judiciary...
The law in me is why I'm saying this.
Yeah, so the judiciary is the hope of the masses, is the hope of the common man. And if you look at what decision your party, your principal, and yourself are taking in going to the presidential election petition, it does look that you believe in one thing, that the judiciary will work. Do you?
I do. What you asked me is a different form of what others have asked me, as in if I trust them. But listen, take these three things I'm going to tell you. The law is not a game for politicians to play. The Constitution is not a puzzle for candidates to toy around with. Justices, their lordships, are not in place for politicians to refer other politicians to. That is wrong. That is wrong. This is classically what is going on now.
But do you have faith in the courts?
I do not.
Why so?
There is a sitting Senate president who contested presidency and lost, and today he is declared senator. And the laws of Nigeria does not allow you to contest two offices. I was contesting governorship in Kaduna, but I withdrew before the contest. And that is why I was nominated as vice presidential candidate on this ticket. Electoral Act violated. Every other act violated. Promises violated. Now they are inching to violate the Constitution to the extent that they will even swear in a president who has not met the constitutional requirement. We should sit down and be afraid and not talk about it. No way.
So if you say you do not believe in the courts, so why did you proceed to the courts then?
That is no reason for us not to go. Because I have said it many times, history is full of first times. There may be a first time that the court system will work. Remember, I have suffered from the legal system. My House of Reps, my Senate, and everything I accepted. Nothing I can do. And that's to underscore the law in me. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I'm a law-promoting citizen. That is the more reason I keep telling you, I keep speaking in extreme ways. And I'm not violating your ethics. I am more ethical than many people who have been here before to come and tell lies, because I'm speaking the truth. The Constitution says each of, that is 24. After that, and you come and tell me that, go and get interpretation. This is an interpreted document. Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is an interpreted document. Let's get academic. If, for example, Section 134 had said that shall have scored 25% in 2/3 and the FCT, and then you get a very popular candidate who now scores 100% of the states, and then the opponent goes to say, the Constitution says 2/3 of the states, and this man went to score in all the states, declare him invalid. That is where the justices, their lordships, can say, no, we hereby interpret it to mean this. But it has been so diligent, there is nothing left out there. 25% in each of at least 2/3 of the states of the Federation, which are 36, and the FCT. Who has time to waste? Nobody has time to waste. You come and rig elections, bastardize the system, then tell people to go for interpretation? No way.
You think the election of 25th of February was rigged?
It was rigged.
What about some of your candidates in the National Assembly who won their seats? There are at least 6 of them or so.
Any of them who rigged should be taken to the court and have it taken away. I'm talking of presidential election.
Does he interpret? You think that the presidential election was rigged?
It was rigged.
Even the 6 million plus vote that you have, was it rigged also?
It was not rigged.
so that the lawful votes that you got?
It was not rigged. Remember, you're talking of electoral matters. I'm talking of constitutional matters.
So, yeah, I'm asking the question because
there are two different
if
things.
you say that the election was rigged...
The election was rigged.
So
it should have been stopped. Remember, we called for the collation to stop. Don't forget that, Shehu.
Absolutely. But the question I'm asking...
Listen.
Mr. Datti, the question I'm asking, if you say the election is rigged, you got 6 million votes.
Yes.
If you're going to court to challenge the vote, you'll be challenging based on the vote that you have.
We got more than 6 million votes. And in the process, we cried out, stop this collation, stop. The election did not hold. Election is made of 4 things. It is made up of the voting of lawful citizens exercising their civic responsibilities. Collation according to the guidelines and the Electoral Act. Transmission of the results according to the guidelines and the Electoral Act. Then collation according to the Electoral Act itself, and then declaration according to the Constitution. But the Electoral Act borrowed that section from the Constitution and applied it in there. After voting, all hell was let loose. What they promised us 3 days earlier on Wednesday was that there would be electronic transmission immediately from the polling units. And it is there in INEC guidelines and the Electoral Act that no collation shall be made without reference to the IREV. They were collating without reference to IREV. So we cried out, stop this, stop this. The election is already going bad. Stop it. They didn't. 4 a.m. has never happened in the history of Nigeria. After adjourning, without specifying the time, 4 a.m., a so-called INEC chairman sneaked to the collation center and announced the result and declared a winner. If you will now permit me, because I respect your rules so much, there's a word I wish to use. Who is a fool? I took your permission. No Nigerian is a fool. You cheat us this way and tell us go and get interpretation, go to court? Nigerians are law-abiding, self-respecting, peace-loving citizens. Right. You have heard about organized private sector. I have heard about organized crime. And in our petition, there is something that has to do with organized crime. Drug peddling, drug everything is the epitome of organized crime. In America's 1930s, there was Ben Segal, a murderous individual who controlled the state. Only in the 1980s, I always his name, Pablo Escobar, he threw a justice from a helicopter down to earth. Pablo Escobar. Now, recently, you have the case of El Chapo in prison but correcting. We have it written in black and white from a U.S. courthouse that someone somewhere once forfeited $460,000 and is now a president-elect in Nigeria, the world's greatest black nation. In the United States, Nigerians have the highest educated expatriates. And this is the best we can do.
Let's bring home this conversation. I'd like to ask, it does look, from what your opponents are saying, that you only believe in the courts if it's in your favor.
Not true. Not true at all. Listen, the most important thing now is that it is not even in our own interest to stop the swearing in of an unconstitutional government. And as far as we're concerned, you cannot swear in an unconstitutional government, therefore don't swear it in. It's not in our interest. And if you don't do that, we don't know what is going to happen.
All right.
Do you understand?
Let me get you.
We are more after correctness. We are after the system working.
All right.
We're after justice being served. Shehu, in case people don't know, who loves politics? It is a nightmare. Your job, the job you're doing is better than mine. Politics is not nice. We're not enjoying it. I'm not enjoying it for sure. Maybe Shetima Tinubu are enjoying it. I'm not enjoying it.
Oh, why did you go into it?
because it is a call of duty. I need to protect my country. I need to protect the future of the generations coming up. There is no future.
Are you losing hope in that?
I am. With the kind of leaders coming up in Nigeria, I am losing hope.
What would be your final thought tonight?
There must never be an unconstitutional government sworn in Nigeria. And this is just the beginning. I am saying it now. Let it be careless, let it be reckless, let it be extreme. It is the truth. It is there in that constitution you read.
All right.
What I'm saying, an unconstitutional government must never, ever be sworn in, because that is the end of democracy anywhere.
Mr. Datti, Baba Ahmed, you have your say and your views on this matter. Thank you so much indeed.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, we go on the break. And when we come back, I will turn back to Mr. Daniel Buala, who has been standing by in London for us virtually. And of course, we'll be touching base with Enugu to know what is happening with the collation center there and the final announcement of the winner in that governorship election. Don't go anywhere, everyone. We'll be right back. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Let's get back to London with Mr. Daniel Buala, a lawyer and the spokesperson of the PDP Presidential Campaign Council. Thank you so much, Mr. Buala, for your patience. And let's get back to the conversation. So you were telling us the details of the petition against the declaration of Bola Tinubu of the APC as the president-elect. What are the other things that we need to know as far as the challenge that you and your party have thrown to the courts?
Well, you know that because the matter now is lis pendens, it has not gone into the court, I will be careful not to discuss the strength and weakness. I will just be telling you what we have brought to the court and probably tell you facts that are in public space. For example, the vice presidential candidate, who is now the vice president-elect, you know that it is a public record that when he accepted the nomination as the vice president, he has not turned over his nomination as a senator. It was the next day after he has accepted that he turned over. And you know, of course, what the Electoral Act says, that where there is a case of double nomination, that candidate stands disqualified. So if you look at that, and then you juxtapose what the Supreme Court said in Doe Ediri's case and David Leon, they say whatever affects the vice president affects the presidential candidate, whatever affects the deputy governor affects the governor because they came on a joint ticket. So even on that qualification too, they will knock them off. And by the time you knock their qualification off, then the person who scored the highest, the next person who scores the highest vote now becomes the winner of that election. We know that our case is strong. That's what we have good cause of action. That's why we came to the court. Our prayer, like I said earlier, is for the court to do justice according to law. There is this thing called justice according to law. And let me tell you what I mean by that. You may have heard that the Supreme Court is a court of justice, but also the court of public policy. You see, when it comes to determining election petition, my view is that the court should wear the gown of law and justice and keep aside the issue of public policy. Because the part of public policy that invokes the jurisdiction of the court oftentimes is a departure from the law. That is where you find the masses saying we don't have confidence in the judiciary, because you may look at it from the face value that this is what the law says and it is pretty straightforward. But then the court will look at probably existential issue, other issues that they feel, okay, this will define the polity, this will maintain peace and all of that. So oftentimes when they operate, when they function as a court of public policy, more criticisms have come on them than when they operate as a code of law and substantial justice. And they have said it over and over and over and over and over again in plethora of cases that the court, the Supreme Court in particular, will look at substantial justice, determining who scored the majority of the lawful vote. In other words, going into the main substance of the matter as against using procedure and to knock off a petition or procedure in order to shy away from looking at it holistically. That's our prayer. And like I said also, secondly, is that there should be non-interference. Now, what we have also argued to foreign international community, especially the U.S. Embassy, when they reiterated that they are going to place sanction on interference with the election, and they mentioned visa. We said, no, you have to go beyond that to revoke green cards to anybody who interferes, revoke their U.S. citizenship, anybody who interferes, go beyond that to asset freezing. Wherever their asset is anywhere in the world, you reach out under the doctrine of extraterritoriality and freeze those assets. You can even invoke international criminal law on those individuals, because oftentimes when there is a compromise of the process, it results in the loss of lives. Look at the lesson, Mr. Sheon, and I think that Nigerian will learn. In Kenya, Kenyatta Uhuru, when the matter came up, there was nothing Kenyatta did not do in order to oppress and suppress the judicial system. As a matter of fact, report has it that about 1,600 people were killed by law enforcement because of the expression of dissent and all of that. But the Supreme Court of Kenya, even when they were told, what if you invalidate the election? There will be more crisis. If you validate the election, what about the cost of conducting another election? The Supreme Court holds the view when it comes to determining justice, even if the entire country uses the entire assets of that country to determine the rights of people, is very important. And even if it takes for the country to turn upside down, the Supreme Court have often said that this is where we stand like a rock of Gibraltar and the heavens will not fall. This is what we need from the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court in the case of this election tribunal.
I see that there's been a lot of overtures that your party and some leaders in your party are making to international interest over this election, especially as it has now gone into the corridor of the judiciary. Do you believe?
No.
Do you believe?
No.
Do you believe in our legal system to give justice in this matter?
So this is how the world is framed. You have the local government, you have the state government, you have the national government, you have the sub-region, and then you have the global community. They all exist intertwined. That's why anytime there is a violation of human rights in a country, then the cry is not limited to that country. You have to invoke the powers of international community. That's why you have the United Nations. You have so many other treaties. All of these things exist so we can bring a firm country that obeys not just international treaties and laws, but even the local laws. You can look at it all over the world. Even us in Africa, I remember in our military era, when our sub-region had one problem or the other, the president of Nigeria will play his part in ensuring that in that country, the rules of engagement are followed. There is no overture. When you have a ruling government, right, the president of the ruling government said the decision of the election is sacrosanct. Is it the court of law? Why wouldn't you need international intervention on that? Because you are preempting the judiciary by saying that. You are preempting the court. He is not supposed to say the election and the victory of Tinubu has come to stand because you are not the court of law. In the same way that, with the greatest respect to Mr. Datti, when he is talking about there is no need for going to the court, there should be restoring and all that. These are extra constitutional matters. The nation cannot succeed until we abide by local laws and international law. Now, why do you mention overture? Let me tell you why. Were it not for the intervention of the global community in both Malawi and Kenya, the Supreme Court of those countries would not have summoned the courage to deliver justice according to law, because the presidents of those countries intimidated the judges, intimidated the people. That is the practical situation we're in the country now. This was an election that was rigged like a daylight robbery. The president of the country did not deem it fit to speak to the INEC chairman that what about Section 65 you people talk about? The proviso said you have days within which you can review complaint. The man said, I will do it. He never did. But now in Adamawa, he said, we are reviewing it. Smack and outright hypocrisy on the part of the electoral body. So you have to have collaboration. And so why did we welcome the foreign observers? Why are Nigerians going to other countries of the world? The President Buhari, on many occasions, has sent Obasanjo,
can you explain,
Jonathan as
sorry, this may be a bit of a digress, but can you explain the uniqueness of Adamawa case? Is there anything that is out of the line being done in that process?
Yes, the election was conducted and Governor Fintiri won the election. Then suddenly, they now say there is one election, one result that is to come in from the local government called Fufure, We are the candidate of that party who also was contracted by INEC to print sensitive INEC document. Now, they said that there is one election result that is supposed to come from there. And it took the courage of one of the agents to stand before them and say, look, we will not allow this election to be manipulated. They stood their ground. That's why you see both Adamawa and Kanu, the election results were announced at the end of the day. If this same thing was applied all over Nigeria, the result would have been different. APC did not win more than 5 states in Nigeria. I'm just being honest. Look at our last presidential election. In all the Northwestern, from the result sheet that was given to us by INEC, the duplicate copy, in the entire Northwest, we sweep it with very large vote difference. But do you know what they did? They now went and upped their vote, and they were putting it small. You defeat here by 3,000, defeat here by 4,000. I have never seen manipulation or read anywhere in the world of a magnitude that we saw in this election. And the reason is because they faked the idea of beavers. There was nobody has talked so much about beavers than the INEC chairman and Festus. Festus Okorie was in fact seated there the day of the national collation. Why was he mute in terms of interpreting Section 65? Why didn't he advise INEC chairman that this man has not scored 25% in FCT? Even if he thinks that it is right, why don't they advise the country and say, we hold the view and this is our interpretation?
Because,
they never did.
Mr. Boala, Adamawa's election has not been concluded and results has not been announced and no winner has been declared just yet. Isn't that a bit different? That was why I was trying to get clarification, because a lot of people watching might get a bit confused from how you were able to put those two scenarios together, looking like they don't really align.
No. The point is clear. And it is not just the case in Adamawa. You look at all the states of the Federation. Okay, why did it take this long before, for example, Abia, for a result to be announced now? When was the election conducted? Was it not this same scenario that played out when the INEC chairman announced the day before he announced the victory? He said, we're going to take 3 states today because it was remaining 6 states. He said, we'll take 3 states today and take 3 the next day. But sensing that maybe there is an order or code that is likely to come, he decided to stay back till 3 a.m. calling the results. You know, all these places that you see where eventually results will be announced, why was the delay?
All right.
Is there new voting taking place?
Mr. Boala, this is how I'd like you to perhaps anchor on the program tonight. Now, APC has been declared as a winner of the presidential election of 2023. Your party and your candidate said he actually won the election. The Labour Party, just like you heard Mr. Datti here, and their principal said they won the election. So you are laying claims to winning the election. Labour Party are laying claims. Then in fact, they said they have the figure to show for it that they won the election. So where do we go from here? Who really won the election?
No, the answer is simple. Nigerians need not to be confused. Most of the results of the Labour Party were the ones that gave them. They didn't have agents in most of the places. Who gave them the results in Lagos? That's number one. And number two, you see...
No, I don't understand. I don't understand. You said you gave them results. What?
The Lagos result that was announced by INEC, Labour Party were misled into believing that the result announced by INEC were the actual result they got, until we told them they actually got more than the result announced by INEC. And it is based on the result sheet that we have. We have agents all over the places.
Okay, so from your agent, you shared the result, the details of the result that you have with the Labour Party. That's what you meant.
When it was Lagos was announced and we saw their names and their numbers, we said that they got more than the numbers announced about to them in Lagos. And that is where this is a fair play game. But let me tell you why Labour keeps saying that they also won. You see, if you look at the exceptional provision of the Electoral Act, the only way somebody who didn't come second will sustain litigation is for you to claim you came first. Because other than that, you don't have a local standard in the election petition. Because if you look at all of those grounds, the person complaining against the declared winner is actually the person who emerged second. That's why even the judgment of the court say when you now void the vote, you will now announce the next person who scored the highest vote as the winner. Look at the case in Yari. So they are doing that, and I don't want to denigrate them because I support their right to exercise. But in terms of you are saying who is the winner, let me be honest with you, Shehu. If by the time this election is determined, based on the results, the duplicate copies that we have, we didn't just defeat APC with a small margin. We defeated APC with a margin about 4 million. And the truth will come home. These people did not win election in most of the places they speculated. Violence, voter suppression, intimidation, and awarding of contract to produce INEC documents to not just members of APC, but even people running for that office. And the president of the Federal Republic ought to have known. The law enforcement ought to tell him.
All right.
And the chairman ought to know it.
So, yeah, we'll see how this all pans out, and we will be watching. Nigerians who voted will also be watching, and hopefully our nation will be better for it. Thank you so much indeed, Mr. Daniel Bwala, for your time tonight. I appreciate it.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Let me remind you what happened just a few hours ago, that in Abia State, election there has been concluded and declared. Mr. Alex Oti of the Labour Party has since been declared and returned. He defeated his closest rival, Mr. Oke Ahiwe of the PDP. Mr. Oti scored 165,467 votes, and his closest rival scored 88,529 votes. Mr. Alex Oti, amidst all the cheers and the jubilation on the street of Uma here, gave his acceptance speech earlier today. That's how much we can serve you tonight, and I hope that you enjoyed every bit of it. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us or joining us for tonight's show. I'll see you tomorrow again at 7 p.m. I'm Sean Kimaloe. God bless Nigeria.